Hello, Holistic Chamber of Commerce family. Welcome to today's member spotlight, where I have I'm like trying to figure out the last name, Monica Tschantz. She educated me properly, Monica Tschantz, and she's going to talk about setting business goals and helping us get into action. A little bit about Monica. She's worked closely with sales and marketing clients to successfully launch brands, websites, retention programs, and advertising campaigns. As a business coach and meeting facilitator, she assists clients to identify what matters most to them and guides them towards taking meaningful action. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it.
So let's talk about why someone would consider business coaching.
So I've coached for many years, and typically I work with business leaders, nonprofit leaders, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and sales teams. And once we kind of peel the onion back, the layers back a little bit, we find that I'm really here to help them identify and focus on what matters most in their business, because not everything is as equally as important as we think it is in the moment. And so when I go back and talk with clients, why did you start coaching with me? A lot of times their comments are they were feeling exhausted. But at the end of the workday, they were feeling like they were doing all the right things and not moving the needle forward in their business. There was always something else that had to get done. The movie Groundhog Day, like they just keep doing the same thing over and over again and just can't figure out a way to disrupt that. And so it's just different levels of frustration that comes from it. Other things that they would say is I have a goal that I know I want to get there. I just don't know where to start. Or again, I feel like I'm doing the right things, but I'm not getting there. So those are the types of connections or like the initial conversation comments that we'll have to be able to help identify, is business coaching something that's really going to help you in your business if you want to grow it?
So we were having a conversation before coming live here, and you were talking about your own story about getting burned out. So talk a little bit about that, because it almost sounds like you're speaking to yourself here when you're talking about why someone would need a business coach.
Yes. For many years, I had shared with you, like I would do things because I could, and I felt like I should do, be this all things to all people. And it feels good to connect with others in that way, especially when they seek you out and they want your help. And so over my career, that's, I would focus on certain things along the way. And then it turned into, I wasn't dropping anything. I was still continuing to do all of these things. And then there was no level of focus on what are actually my strengths? What is it that actually brings me joy? What do I enjoy doing versus doing everything for everyone else? And some of the things I really wasn't good at. It was just they had no one else to do it. And so about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I really hit burnout physically and mentally, emotionally. It wasn't a good place. And that's where I really had to figure out, I thought if I worked harder, I could fix it. And that's when it was taking a moment to pause and choose and to notice what was happening and choose how I wanted to move forward. And that's when basically I had to scale everything back and really lean into being in alignment with who I am and where my strengths are. And since doing that, I have to admit, I'm not having those days where I feel like I'm totally worn out at the end of the day and didn't accomplish a thing. Or I still dread the question, from my family members of, hey, what's for dinner? And you're like, seriously, one more thing I have to try to figure out for someone else. But it doesn't hit as hard as it used to, when I know that throughout the day I was able to get done what it is that is really going to help move the business forward.
I appreciate you sharing that. And also saying, the difference between just because we can do something doesn't mean that we should. It doesn't mean that that's within our zone of genius.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that that's what's going to bring us joy. And I think so many people are stuck in careers and in roles that give them tremendous amount of anxiety and stress. And, who really
Mhm.
needs to live like that?
Right.
Yeah. So can you
Absolutely.
expand upon a little bit about like what your clients really struggle with, so that someone who's watching this is like, oh yeah, that's me, that's me, that's me.
I find areas of struggle kind of fall into two buckets. One bucket being mindset and clarity. And it shows up when we overcomplicate things. That's a simplified way of how I connect with that. And we overcomplicate things. And then we seem to lose focus on what it is that we're not. It's not the same as falling into the black hole of Facebook. You get on there and you're not sure 30 minutes later why you even clicked the app. But it's throughout the day where oh, this will just take a second. This will just take a second. This will just take a second. And that's where my business is 1440 Solutions. We have 1,440 minutes in a day, and how you use them, you get to choose. And so that's part of that process to prevent the burnout, to be able to get done what you want to get done in the time that you have allotted for it. And the way to do that is to really focus in on what does matter most. Because oftentimes when you can find out what that thing is, it makes everything else easier or unnecessary. It eliminates all of the extra running around or the busyness that comes with that. The second bucket I would say is vision casting and really having a plan to get there. So not knowing where to start. So you identify, okay, I want to go, on a trip, a destination. I want to get to, I'm in Atlanta. So let's say I want to get to California. Okay, there's a gazillion ways I could get there, but unless I really figure out what those milestones are to know that I'm on track to get there, it could be a week and I end up in Canada because I didn't really check in to figure out how do I know that I'm on track to get where I want to go. So vision casting, where do you want to go? And then creating that plan to get there. And along that, kind of going back to that being busy, and what I find, we feel productive because we're doing something. It may not just be the right activities to move you forward. And I kind of refer to that as leaning into your genius, as you mentioned, or leaning into your superpowers and really doing the activities that are energy generating versus energy depleting. And you once you kind of hone in on that, you get a feeling, am I really doing the things that are going to move me where I want to get to, or is just feel like it's just sucking me dry? And so that's where we work to prevent that from happening.
I could see this being super helpful for certain personality types too, like those individuals that are highly creative and spend a lot of time in their art often have like no business strategy whatsoever because they don't have that strategic mind. So, sometimes it's just I need someone to, almost like help me plan my strategy and keep me accountable here while I'm doing my thing. But then I bet you also get the type A personalities that are busy, doing, but they're doing all of these things that have nothing to do with where they actually, want to be. So I can see how,
Yes.
it would work with both ends of the spectrum. Talk a little bit about how you work with people, like what that looks like.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's really important and to just with any partnership or relationship that we're on the same page and that you can really work well together. And so opening up before we commit to working together, I'd like to, kind of go on a little first date to figure out, like, is this something that we can see ourselves really partnering and growing together in? And then the way that once we decide to work together is I really just help people I don't want to say get organized, because it's not that simple. It's just more of building a business, helping them kind of figure out how they want to build their business in a strategic way that's really in alignment with their core values, with who they are. And so it's helping people get clear on what's possible, and unlocking the potential. And in doing so, when we lean into our strengths and we are in alignment, there's less friction to get to where you want to go. And immediately, if you kind of trim out this is the stuff that is a distraction, if you can just identify or hone in on and be aware that there are distractions, clarity becomes that much more easy. And so I help them find simplicity in the chaos, help them, like I said, focus on what matters most. And I feel like when you really commit to it, you're going to achieve the goals that you want, and really you deserve them, because you work your tail off to get them.
Does it matter if someone's like just a solopreneur and doing things on their own, or do they need to be like a full-fledged business? I don't want to say full-fledged business owner, because solopreneurs and entrepreneurs are business owners, but like, sometimes when you think of business, you think of someone that has, a billion-dollar industry and employees and stuff like that. Does it really matter where someone is in their work when it comes to reaching out to you for support?
Yeah, I love working with small businesses, and I found in the corporate world also translating to sales teams. So, or small groups of leaders to help them, again, find clarity on how to lead their team in ways that are really going to be able to engage their teams. So, to answer your question, yes, all.
And do you work with people online, or is it mostly in person?
Both. I joke, like, we were doing Zoom before Zoom was like the cool thing to do. So I think there's so much value in that connection that you have when you're in person. And I'm sure people are familiar with like heart math, like I feel like you can really feel that heart energy digitally when the environment and the setting is proper, as well as in person. And so it's whatever's going to be most beneficial to the client. I have some people that work or that live like an hour or so away. And so we just get together in person, maybe quarterly, just to connect and give each other a hug. And then regularly on our weekly calls, we'll do virtual.
Now, it looks like you have a bit of a fan club here. Some of your Atlanta Noonan people. Susie,
oh, yeah?
Susie's saying hello.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'll see her tomorrow.
So you mentioned something about like walking through a little goal setting exercise. Do you do that? We have about 4 minutes.
I think that would be awesome. So really, this is a way for you to kind of, for anyone that's listening, to be able to go through and take some notes and then go back and reflect on those questions. So to start, it's what I call like a chunking down exercise. And so the first question, I guess, where we want to put our mind is what's possible. So identifying what we could call a someday goal, or something maybe that's 5 years out in the future. So, what is that? And we've all heard, SMART goals, or writing, measurable goals. So just writing something down is, I'd really love to be able to do this, say in a 5-year time frame. And then, so that would be 2029, just for easy math. So in 2029, March 2029. And then, below that, write down what are the things that you're going to be celebrating in a year from now. So in 2025. And to do that, you also are going to end up brainstorming, what are things I could be celebrating in a year from now that tells me that if I'm going to be on track for 5 years to achieve this awesome goal, then I could be doing all of these, or to be on track, I could be, checking off any of these boxes. So selecting one that you really want to be celebrating in a year. And then we bring it back to our monthly. So this is the middle of March. So, in the next 2 weeks, what is it that you want to be able to celebrate that knows it, so that you're on track for that 1 year goal? And like I said, I call this like chunking it down, because one of those gaps is that we can talk all day about where I want to be in the future. And then we'll talk about it again tomorrow. And then we'll talk about it, in a month from now.
But if we have no steps on how we're getting there.
Yes. So what is that's that filling in the gap of how to actually get into action. And so when you have clarity as I want to be celebrating X, this month, then you can say, all right, well, I've got so many days this week that I'm going to be working towards that goal. What is it that I want to say that I've accomplished? And one of the benefits is in the morning when you wake up, whenever it is that you start your work, you basically have your focus list ready to go. And that can be like your bumper, your bumpers to help you stay focused on what is that you want to do. So identifying what do you want to be celebrating in 5 years? What do you want to celebrate in 1 year? What is it that you're doing this month that's going to help you get on track for that? And what can you do today that's going to help you reach that monthly action item?
Yeah, that getting into action is so important. I was having this wonderful debate with someone who was trying to convince me that like you need to have a 5-year strategic plan. If you don't have one, your business is going to fail. And I thought, well, that's not necessarily true, because there are plenty of people out there that have a 5-year strategic plan, but they're not actually doing anything to get to that strategic plan. And I'm trying to, make them understand that it's great to have a plan, but it's like the getting into action and having somebody to support you. That's kind of the most important piece.
Right.
And people don't think about it, which I guess is why so many, New Year's resolutions don't pan out, because people want these goals, but they don't really think about, well, what am I actually going to do in order to get to those goals? So such a valuable nugget of just like personal self-awareness. Where are you, when it comes to goal setting and actually taking action?
Yes. And I call that like really having a relationship with your goals. Because that way you are aware, where am I in relation to achieving it? What am I doing today? And having grace when I didn't do anything to move myself towards that goal. Like that is okay. Instead of like sabotaging ourselves and saying, well, there goes, this month. Okay, well, it's the 11th of the month. Like there's still so much opportunity.
It's not over yet.
Not over yet.
All right. If someone wanted to reach out to you for more information, you gave me several ways to connect. So just kind of run through them for people who might want to connect with you to learn more about how you can help them.
Thanks. So my website is probably the easiest. It's 1440solutions.com. And on there, it is under construction right now, but there are links that are working. And so the one link is to schedule time with me. Like I mentioned, really like to do that first date, that alignment call. It's complimentary, and we just figure out, is working together something that's going to be most beneficial for us. So my website, and then I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at 1440 Solutions. I think Instagram is 1440 Solutions Inc. So yeah.
And you have this workshop coming up. I'm going to put that link in here too. Talk just a moment about that.
Thanks. So it's a 2-part free workshop called Reimagine Networking, and it's on March 18th and March 25th. One of the areas that I find a lot of my sales folks don't hone in on is connections and building relationships. They use that word, the networking word, and it feels dirty to them. And so we reimagine what connections can really look like, and you'll work through activities and have action items from our call on the 18th. And then we revisit on the 25th to go over and celebrate those wins.
Well, thank you so much, Monica, for being here and for sharing with us what you do and giving us some tips around goal setting and making sure we're taking action. Is there any last minute thing you want to say to everyone before we sign off?
I don't think so. I just really appreciate the opportunity to connect.
All right, folks. So watching this, if this is speaking to you, reach out to Monica, schedule a call, have a chat, because we're all here to support each other so that our businesses skyrocket. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.